channel. My name's Corin, and in this video, we are going to be discussing the latest episode of The Bad Batch. And by we, I brought Vic along, wherever he's at. Over there, somewhere.
Something like that. You can't do Star Wars without me, sir. Never.
Yeah. Well, the little girl, she figured out how to do this.
It wouldn't go over well.
No. So Vic, let's get right down into it and break it down.
All right, guys, this episode of The Bad Batch is titled Battle Scars, and as always, these things always have kind of a double meaning. Battle Scars meaning, scars of the past, as well as these new scars which are being introduced today, which is the removal of the inhibitor chips. So after failing to obtain the tactical droid for Sid last episode, because they gave it to Rafa and her sister for a mysterious for them to deliver to a mysterious stranger, they returned back to the bar, and Sid's like, you owe me money. And they're like, what? They're like, here's the money for your job. You get 3 little Imperial credits. I get this entire box of credits. And he's like, hold on. I thought you said this paid more. She's like, yeah, for me, not you. I'm like, oh, yeah. That's classic Carla right there.
That's Carla right there.
While they're in there talking to Carla, and she's explaining to them how she owes them. Dude, she is like, what do they call those people? Oh, man.
A pimp?
No, well, yeah, kind of. Because if you really think about it, it's like, oh, yeah, well, you owe me for your room, your board, your food, your drink, your all the stuff that, like, they're getting. She's like, oh, yeah, you want to park your ship? You owe me for that. You want to do this? You owe me for that. Oh, by the way, your galactic popcorn? You owe me for that. We find out that Wrecker and Omega have been putting stuff on her tab, and she's just shifting it over to their bill. Which is pretty good. Norm and Cliff start giving a mysterious stranger a hard time who's sitting in the corner and trying to enjoy his spatchka. And we find out after Sid runs them off that it's actually Captain Rex, who we kind of skipped over as a possibility for the contact at the end of last episode. I know I kind of mentioned it could be him, but didn't really think that they would drop that bomb so quickly, but they did. And in this episode, we get the reveal that, again, like we talked about in prior episodes, that they're going to get rid of the inhibitor chips because he realizes that Wrecker his inhibitor chip is activating. And he draws on him like, hey, that's a ticking time bomb. You need to get that thing out of his head. Why haven't you removed yours yet? And Tech is like, yeah, well, we're the Bad Batch. Like, our inhibitor chips don't work right anyway. So it's no big deal. And he's like, dude, his inhibitor chip is activating, and at some point he's going to try to kill you. So you need to do something about it. So he's like, okay, let's get out of here. They end up going to the planet Bracca, which is basically it's a starship graveyard, the entire planet. They go big in Star Wars. Like they don't just be like, oh, this section of the planet is a starship graveyard. No, the entire planet is a starship graveyard. And the Scrapper Guild is in charge of the entire planet, and basically the Empire is dropping off all of the derelict dead Imperial ships onto this planet to be broken down, to be reused and recycled. And Rex meets them there and walks them to an Imperial class starship and gets them on board to get to the medical bay. For those of you who have watched Clone Wars, this is the same kind of medical bay that Ahsoka used to remove Rex's inhibitor chip. To get rid of his chip. So, and I'm sure that's...
So they actually showed that.
Yeah, we've seen this done before. This isn't just like an out of nowhere, hey, we can do this, let's go here and do it. This is something that's been done before, just not on this show. So having that knowledge is a pretty good thing. So they finally get there. We get to see that, again, that Wrecker hates heights. because they have to cross this little beam to get onto the ship, and he does the 2 hands 4 feet crawling across the bar, and then they get to a rope, a cable they have to cross, and he's like, nope, you know what, my head doesn't hurt anymore, I'm good, you guys go, I'm gonna stay over here. I was like, that's great.
That actually made me laugh.
Yeah, so he gets on the cable, he tries to cross over, and the cable snaps, and he gets plummeted down to some stagnant water that's on the planet. The ships are probably sitting in an ocean, more than likely, because the whole planet obviously has water somewhere. And when he falls down,
sand too. So the placement of the water to me is kind of weird.
No, think about this though. Think about what is it? The Return of Skywalker, or whatever it is, Last Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker?
Rise of Skywalker. I couldn't remember the name. Think about Rise of Skywalker. They had that cliff, and then she had to fly down to the ship that was in the water. Yeah. So you go from like a desert area right into the water. So like that's kind of how these planets go. When you really
we are talking about some planet that doesn't really exist. So who am I to criticize?
There you go. So he falls in, and in the water there is obviously some sort of a creature. And Hunter kind of knew that there was something in there anyway, because he was like, "Hey, stay above the water line." Which gives you the idea that they're actually in water somewhere.
As soon as he said that, you knew somebody was going in there.
Oh, of course. And of course it was Wrecker, because everything happens to Wrecker. So as Wrecker's basically trying to be made a snack of, that creature that's down in there, you've seen before, by the way. That's the same kind of creature that was in New Hope, when they were in the compactor, and that monster was trying to eat them. That's what that was. The same one? That's what that was. It's that same kind of creature. Not the same one, but the same kind. So right. it likes to eat people and trash. So it's a perfect planet for that thing, because obviously it's a giant, trash planet. So they save him from that. They get to the medical bay. They go to put him into the machine to get the inhibitor chip out, and his inhibitor chip activates. And obviously this is probably like a week or two after last episode, which it activated last episode also. I don't know if you noticed that, but when he got shot and he fell down, he actually said, "A good soldier follows orders." That was his inhibitor chip activating. Right. But he fought it off, and he ends up, being able to defeat the inhibitor chip. But as time has gone on, and he talks about the fact, like, I need another one of those med patches. He's like, you've used all of them. We don't have any more. And those med patches, and stop his inhibitor chip. So at this point, he just goes full out Order 66, and he attacks his brothers, and puts most of them down right away. He goes after Omega, and I'm like, why are you going after Omega? She didn't do anything wrong. But then he's like, you're aiding and abetting traitors. You must die too. And I'm like, oh man, they just cover every base. Yeah. Like, I was like, there's no reason to go after her. Oh yes, there is. You win. And he tracks her down. She tries to fight him off. And right as he's about, dude, this scene where he is about to just blast her indiscriminately. And I'm not talking about a stun. He's about to red bolt her butt. And right before he pulls the trigger, he pauses for a second. And he's like, good soldiers follow orders. He's fighting it. Like, he is flat out fighting that chip, trying not to kill Omega. So you can tell, like, their free will is taken away when that inhibitor chip goes into full act and goes in full mode. And the only thing stopping him is the fact that he does not want to hurt Omega. And while he pauses, he gets stun blasted by Rex, and they take him back and they pull his chip. This again is something that we've seen in Clone Wars, because Rex did the same thing for Ahsoka. He managed to fight off the chip long enough for Ahsoka to kind of get away and try to defend herself from Order 66. But he only did it because he respected her so much and wanted to save her, that he was able to fight off the chip. So it is even a non mutated clone is able to fight the chip's programming a little bit, but eventually it will win over. So they remove his chip, not only his, but they remove everyone else's. Like I predicted this, that he was gonna attack them. They were gonna knock him out. They were gonna remove his chip, and then they were like, "Well, we got all of our chips out. Let's go get Crosshair and get his chip out so we can get our brother back." But in this, we do find out that Omega doesn't have a chip at all. She was never implanted with an inhibitor chip. So I think that, again, this plays into what exactly is Omega, and why is she not put together the same way as the rest of the clones. Not only is she female, but she doesn't have an inhibitor chip, and she is displaying a lot. She is explaining. She is not explaining. She is exhibiting a lot of different abilities than them, because at the beginning of the episode she talks to them about, they're like, "Oh, Ruby's upset because they were being chased down by somebody because they stole a lizard," and they're like, "Yeah, Ruby's upset," and he's like, "You name that thing?" And she's like, "Yeah," and then she's like, "Oh, she's scared," and she keeps talking about this lizard like she's like can talk to it or feel what's going on, and that intuition is a force trait. So this is playing into the fact that I think that she is force sensitive in some way, shape, or form. She is the first of the force sensitive clones that they were able to make, which is why they need to get her back now, even though Nala Se let her go. So the end of the episode, after they've gotten everyone's inhibitor chips, Rex kind of walks into the mist to go back to his original job after he's talking to somebody on his comlink. It could be Rafa and her sister, or it could be Ahsoka, since he's connected directly to her after this, or it could be Bail Organa. We don't know who he's talking to, but he's obviously talking about meeting up with somebody on the next cycle. So we should see hopefully him again. And as he's leaving, Hunter's like, "Hey, if you ever need us, you know how to get a hold of us. We'll be there for you, brother. Just let us know." But again, Hunter has collected yet another piece in his like makeshift army that they're going to be able to use at the end of this series or this season when they come under attack from the Empire.
Now keep in mind too, this is all before episode 4. So like where do all of these characters go, between now and the movies, even episode 1, actually, now that I think about it.
Well, again, there's a lot of time between then and now and episode 4. So you're talking about 19, 20 years before we see all this stuff. So
I'm curious to see where they all end up.
I hate to say this, but I feel like they're gonna all die. Like I think they're gonna kill them off, and if they don't kill them off, then they're gonna end up running to the outskirts of known space in order to hide Omega from. Actually, I like this answer better now that I think about it. I think that at the end of this, once they retrieve Crosshair, knowing that the Emperor wants Omega, they're gonna hop in their ship and they're gonna take off for unknown space to protect her from the Empire, and that will be a way to get rid of them without killing them off. Or if she is force sensitive, maybe she ends up with Ahsoka. Ahsoka trains her to use her force abilities, not as a Jedi, but just trains her to be able to use her abilities, and she kind of becomes Ahsoka's quote-unquote apprentice, since Ahsoka's not a Jedi anymore, but she becomes her kind of Padawan, and she teaches her how to use her abilities, and maybe we see a live-action version of her in the new Ahsoka show coming up, or in one of the shows in the future we see, her brought to life. So I don't know. Either one of those ideas I like better than them just dying.
Yeah, the good thing is there's so many possibilities, and yeah, I don't like the whole. Well, you don't see them in episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or so on. So obviously they're going to have to die, because
you also don't see Rex.
It seems kind of lame.
You don't see Rex Gregor. You don't see Rex Gregor or Wolf in 4, 5, 6, and on. But we also don't, as of the end of Clone Wars, before this was created, they were still alive and fine and just living off on a desert planet on top of one of their AT-ATs. So the clone era AT-ATs. So it is possible that they just go and hide and lay
And
low
that's
for the
it.
rest of their existence. I mean, it's
I know,
possible,
but
but
doesn't that seem kind of lame though?
it does. It does very much so. But I think that they're able to write in the new stories because of all the new stuff they're doing. I think it's still possible for us to see them in the future, to see what happens. The very end of the episode, the Scrapper Guild sees Hunter and Rex as they're departing. The last moment, he's like, "Hey, call the Empire. Tell them we've definitely got someone here on the planet on one of the ships." So obviously, the Empire is keeping tabs, as always, on everything going on. They've hired the Scrapper Guild to take apart all of this stuff, but also to be their eyes and ears, because obviously the rebellion needs equipment, they need gear, they need parts, they need ships. So if someone shows up on that planet and tries to get into one of those old Imperial ships and take it, or take parts off of it to build another ship or to fix their ships, they want to know about it. So they're like, call the Empire, let them know that someone's here on one of those ships. I do like that they didn't say, let them know that the batch is here, or let them know that there's clones here, or anything like that. They're just like, there's someone here on the planet in one of the ships. And I like that because it leaves it wide open for them to explain what they're doing without being like, oh, it's just automatically they're after them, they know it's them. So great episode. This episode, to me, especially with like the drama, the fights, Omega's kind of, she's a kid, but she realizes, like, if something happens to these guys and they die, I'm on my own. I don't know anything or anyone in the galaxy, so I need them to survive. We have to make sure they're okay, and that's why that's her purpose, is to ensure that they're all okay, which I thought that was really endearing. It was just, it's crazy how emotional this show can be at times, and I thought this episode was a really good example of that.
Yeah, my favorite thing so far, especially in this episode, has been
Space popcorn.
like
Pocket popcorn.
Yeah,
like you pulled that out of your pocket, kid. It's been in there the entire time.
It's been the relationship between Omega and
Wrecker.
What's his name? Wrecker.
Yeah, it's great.
It's that I really like that. And
there's a father-daughter feel for Omega and Hunter. Like, he feels responsible for her, not just because she's their little sister, but he really has like a fatherly air to him with her. But Wrecker is definitely that big brother that like loves the little sister and just wants to hang out and have fun. And that you get that feeling a lot.
Yeah, and not only that, it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but he has kind of like a childish mentality to him sometimes as well.
Yeah, but we definitely saw the scary side of him this episode.
No, for sure. But I think that when you see him interacting with her, I think he's brought from that, that big brute down to a childish level.
He's a big teddy bear. Like, he is literally like the epitome of the big teddy bear motif, where he is like the sweetest, gentlest guy until he has to show his hard side. And man, this episode showed, like, he went full like Incredible Hulk, like Hulk smash. All of a sudden, he was just all about them. Like, I'm gonna take you down. So yeah, it's like I said, he's the heart, and like, to me, he's the heart and soul of the team. Like, he is the sweet to the rest of that team sour. So I love it.
All right, we do want to thank you for watching. That is going to end this episode, but before we go, we do want to let you know that we do the show live on Twitch at 7 p.m. on 7 p.m. Eastern. That's twitch.tv/MillerKing_51. The link is in the description down below. And while you're down there looking, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, and give us a thumbs up, because that does help out our channel, and we do really appreciate it. So on behalf of Vic,
that's me.
I'm Corey. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.
See ya.